Welcome, and thank you for attending the Cool Cleveland Editorial Board meeting. Today, September 26, 2013, we're in the beautiful art gallery of the historic Old Stone Church here on Public Square, beautiful downtown Cleveland. We are joined today by Cleveland Mayor Frank Jackson. Thank you so much for making time in your schedule.
Well, thanks for having me.
Thank you. We reserve the first 10 of our 30 minutes to hear from you in support of your candidacy, and then we'll use the remaining 20 minutes for a Q&A and discussion with our editorial board. This session is being videotaped, and it will be posted to coolcleveland.com to allow our readers a better chance to understand the issues and candidates as they prepare to vote in the upcoming November 5th general election. We will use this session to help us prepare our editorials and our endorsements, so thank you. I'm Thomas Mulready, publisher of coolcleveland.com. I'm joined today by Mansfield Frazier, Richey Piiparinen, Anastasia, Pantsios, and Larry Durston. Mayor Jackson, tell us why we should be endorsing you from Cool Cleveland, and tell our readers why they should be voting for you in this upcoming election.
Well, I'll answer that by telling you why I'm running for mayor.
There you go.
Okay.
Thank you.
We have done a lot over the last 8 years in terms of positioning the city of Cleveland. And we've done a lot in terms of positioning the city for success. We're right there, but we're not over the hump. We are not institutionalizing a pathway. This pathway to success is not institutionalized, so there's no infrastructure that is built yet. But we're right there. The potential is there. And I'm running for mayor because of my desire to institutionalize this infrastructure that will better guarantee success going forward, so that whoever wants to be mayor, there's an expectation of what a mayor should be and what a mayor should be about. If somebody wants to be a council person, if somebody wants to be a corporate leader, there should be an expectation of what we as the community expect from them going forward and what they should be doing. Now, what have I done to position Cleveland? First, we've done it in terms of just our fiscal management and doing that in a way that got us through the Great Recession and also got us through the whole budgetary cuts that came from the state government. Both of these resulted in tens of millions of dollars each. So we were able to get through that, maintain service levels, quality service, with minimum negative impact on personnel. As a matter of fact, we're pretty much have the appropriate personnel size, and we are more efficient, and we're doing more with less. So we're not in the same mode as cities like Detroit and Baltimore is going to have some problems, Cincinnati is going to have some problems, and we won't be in that situation. So we have prepared us and positioned us to be financially stable moving forward, which really opens up the opportunity for economic and community development. We were able, coming out of the recession, to come out of it pretty well because we invested in the future while we were in bad times. It's too late to invest in good times when it's good times. In order to prepare for good times, you have to do it in bad times. So our fiscal management and our ability to position and leverage government money for private investments, you can see the results of that, not only in the downtown neighborhood, but in the neighborhood of Uptown, the neighborhood of Tremont, Detroit Shoreway, Shaker Square, Larchmere. You know, I can just go on and on. You can see those kind of investments. Now, those investments mean nothing if, in fact, then it doesn't result in a community benefit. And so how do you ensure that when you have this level of investment, that more people are able to share in the opportunity of wealth creation, whether it's through contracting or entrepreneurship, or or just being able to be part of a job market that they can maintain themselves and their family and be a better part of their neighborhood and community. That's what the Community Benefits Agreement does. And for the first time, we have a direct link and an agreement with building trades to take Max Hayes as a pre-apprenticeship for the building trades. And so when there are developments that occur, and that is a development that has union contracts, then when they need apprentice, one of the places they will pull from is Max Hayes. That has never happened before. We have both the public and we as the public have adopted community benefits agreement. The private sector, is maybe about a week ago, we had a press conference, the clinic was there, UH, the sewer district, Geis, a major developer. All of them have signed on to the community benefits approach that really talks about how do you keep money local? How do you turn money around in your local economy to maintain jobs and to grow jobs, even if the national economy is going like this? How do we stay on a more even keel? And the way you do that is to invest in your own economy, hire local labor, hire local contractors, and have a better distribution of those opportunities into your local community. So we've done that. A third thing that we have done to position Cleveland is our whole education plan. Our education reform, the Cleveland plan, is being looked at nationally as a model as to how you do education, not just in terms of work rules around seniority, or tenure, or termination, or pay, and who gets paid what amount, not only in terms of that, but also in terms of how a community comes together and forget about your dogma of your institution or your party line and come together to really work on the behalf of children for education. Now that is unprecedented because it's never been a mystery how you educate a child. It's all about how do you get it done and how do you move the powers to be to do it. And so we were able to do that. And then finally on education is that we were able to get the financial support for the people. So not only do we have Democrats and Republicans and charter and public schools and unions and business people coming together and foundations coming together, the public came together and passed a levy they couldn't afford. And they gave it to us. 15 mil levy. Again, unprecedented. In order to support an opportunity for their children to receive an education that would give them a chance in life. So all of these things are right there, but they're not institutionalized. There's no infrastructure built for that yet, but they're there to be had. And I'm running again so that I can build that infrastructure that would institutionalize this pathway to success and guarantee that these things are just what you do in Cleveland. You just educate children. You just balance your budget and spend your money wisely. And when you invest and you make money here, the community has to benefit from it. So those are just three things that I will talk about, and I'm pretty sure I'm getting close to my 10 minutes, so I'll take questions.
Perfect. Thank you so much. Very good.
Mr. Mayor, you talked about community benefits agreement.
Right.
And I have to preface by saying in 1970, I was one of the first three guys to go into the trade unions as a certified pipe welder, not as a trainee,
right,
but as a journeyman. I was a master pipe welder. They ran me off the job.
Right.
So we're now over 40 years later.
Right.
So if I have some skepticism about changing the trade unions and how they react, you'll understand why, because I've been fighting this battle for 40 years. Now, I know that in Atlanta, when they instituted, it was a carrot and a stick. So you've asked them to sign this community benefits agreement. At the end of the day, you got the pen, and you could also say, I'm not going to sign on any more building if you don't do it. Can you say that?
Well, it all depends, because when we are something that we're involved in on a financial basis in terms of subsidy, we have that kind of control. And so part of our conditions for receiving economic help and subsidy is that you are community benefit. We have adopted that as a policy going forward for the city of Cleveland. And so it's in our contracts, it's in our development agreements. And it will be when we are the ones who spend all the money on something, like we build a building or we repair a street, then part of the specifications, when you bid, you have, part of that is you know that you have to abide by the community benefits. So whenever we have the ability to leverage a subsidy, then we impose it because we have that authority. Where the great value of this comes in is in the private sector where we have no control. Like at UH or the Cleveland Clinic or other people who don't come under our purview and don't need any subsidies from us, then they're free to do what they want. But they have voluntarily adopted the community benefits agreement. Now, of course, how they enforce it, it will become the key, just like how we enforce it. That is what I mean by the infrastructure. Because if it is known that when you do business in the city of Cleveland, you got to do it this way, and the private sector says, hey, look, you're in Cleveland, this way we do business. So it becomes part of the culture of doing it. Now, if I may, on the union side, I understand it. I understand it, because I've been fighting this a long time. Now, I never attempted to get into the trades, but I've been, in my public life, as a councilman, starting with Gateway to the Brown Stadium, it was always a struggle. This is the first time I've ever had the head of the building trades come on board and work with us to develop the criteria to get the certification at Max Hayes to make them a pre-apprenticeship program. See,
Okay.
so they are invested. They're invested.
Larry?
Yeah, Mr. Mayor, I want to talk a little bit about the tone of the campaign thus far. And much of your criticism of your opponent revolves around, or it's been, there's been conversations about him being condescending and showing a certain degree of disdain. On the flip side of that, you have your opponent talking about being biblical, and certainly condescension and disdain are not biblical qualities that you're attributing it to. Now, do you think that these are character issues almost that are being talked about, as opposed to like specific criticisms, let's say, of your opponent's policies?
Well, but the question is if he has one. It's the question, as you know, if you were at my City Club debate or watched it, I started off pretty much telling you what I said today in terms and so I was willing and happy, I'm really excited to go to the debate so we could talk about the issue of the city of Cleveland. But, and if you read my opening statement, that's what it was. Now, I can do that or I can do it this way if you choose. And he chose the other way. Now, I didn't start it.
Right.
And so I would be perfectly willing, and just like I'm here now, if you had to raise questions, I wouldn't even be addressing this issue. So my point is that I started off the debate outlining why I was running for mayor and why I thought my candidacy was the best candidacy for the future of the city of Cleveland, and it went downhill from there. And so my point to you is that I didn't attack, but I certainly wasn't going to sit there and have things raised that were not relevant to what I believe is in the best interest of the city of Cleveland, be raised and not addressed.
Mr. Jackson, there was an opportunity today for you to face Ken Lancy. In fact, when we invited your campaign to have you be here today, we originally had suggested that you both be in the room.
A debate, right?
Not a debate, but have you each get a half hour with the opportunity to hear each other and possibly respond to each other. But your campaign refused to allow you to engage in that. I'm just asking you, do you agree with that?
Oh, yes, I agree with it. I'll tell you
why do you not want to engage with your...
Well, I'm not saying I don't want to engage.
I mean, you limited it to one debate.
That's
Do you think that that's the most transparent way to approach a campaign with a candidate?
Well, this is a political campaign.
Yes.
That's what this is. I mean, let's be realistic about the political campaign.
And it's an opportunity to discuss the issues, is it not?
But let me answer your question, because, you're diverting too, but let me answer your question. Mr. Lancy agreed to that. It wasn't like the mayor imposed. Mr. Lancey agreed to, with Blaine Griffin, my campaign manager, in a meeting at the city club to one debate. Mr.
That's
Lancey.
not what they told me, I'm sorry.
Well,
They
but-
disagreed with your campaign. They said they would be fine to meet with you at any time and in any format. And I'm just wondering why you wouldn't do that and why you wouldn't want more opportunities to face your candidate and allow these. I mean, if you're saying here that you don't think he has a very good case and he doesn't state it very well, and yet you don't want to face him?
No, I'm not saying that. I'm telling you, this is a political campaign. That's what this is. This is to win an election. That's what this is. And when the opportunity presented itself, it gravitated into something that had nothing to do about the issues, let me finish, about the issues of the city of Cleveland. Mr. Lancey agreed with our people to one debate. Mr. Lancey agreed to that.
Not according to their campaign.
Well, but see, that's my point. So you.
There was
this
nothing
is
in writing.
It's
So
a
anyway, so let's move on from this.
It's a
Let me ask you a
political
different question, because you talk about the potential of the city. We all know Cleveland has tremendous potential. It's had the potential for our entire lives to be better than it is. You've had 8 years now. You said that you have an expectation of better government, that you want to institutionalize this, that we're not over the hump yet. How many years do you think it will take, if you've had 8 years of yourself to get these new, get us over the hump and get us moving in the right direction? I understand that it's been a very difficult economy. I understand that you've been able to balance the budget, and I think you're to be given great credit for that. But how many years do we give a politician and allow them to say, I need more time? It's only been 8 years now. I need more time to institutionalize change.
Well, how many years did it take to get us here? I mean, it takes a while to get you into any situation. And if you're talking about substantive, substantial, sustainable change, you're talking about core issues that are not easy to address, and which means that you're going to have to put the time in, and you can't deal with superficialness. Now, I can make 25 decisions, but I guarantee you there'll be 25 political decisions, because they'll be addressed individually that will have nothing to do with making systemic change. Now, that's a politician. I am not doing that. I am dealing with core issues that will run up against opposition. And when you run up against opposition in infrastructure that's built to operate a different way, yes, it takes you time. And you have to have the ability, and you have to have the insight and the timing to know when to do certain things in order to move things ahead. Now, if it only took a couple of years, believe me, somebody would have done it a long time ago. But this is not something, this is work. And this is what I do. I work every day. I work every day.
You talk about passing an education levy that the city of Cleveland couldn't afford, and you give them credit for doing that.
Oh, yeah.
There's a number of levies that are on the ballot again this year that are costing quite a bit of money, some of them. Which ones of those are you supporting?
Well, I'm supporting all of the levies, to be honest with you. The Porter levy is no increase whatsoever. So it's just a renewal. I've heard you speak many times about the lakefront and metro parks and what we're going to do and what somebody should do. Well, you can't have your cake and eat it too. Here's the opportunity to deal with it. So I support the levy in order to improve our lakefront and improve our whole metro park system. I support that.
Can you imagine a levy you wouldn't support, given the economic situation of most of the people in the city of Cleveland? Because of that they can't afford it, as you said.
I would not support something that would not be a benefit to people. And I believe that having a port that creates probably about 18 to 20,000 jobs is a benefit to this community.
Did you support that levy last year?
You gotta let me.
Did you support it last year?
Yes.
And it failed,
It failed.
and it was a much more expensive levy.
Yeah.
But you felt that would have been worth it as well.
I support this levy. I supported it last year. And I will tell you that with the library, for instance, how do we talk about our people and our children having access to knowledge and then deny them the opportunity to have it? How do you do that? And how do you deal with a social service levy when people are talking about what are you going to do for people who can't do anything for themselves, and then you say you're not going to support it? So I'm not going to be hypocritical about it. I think I'm very clear as to where I stand on all issues, and I stand in support of things that help people. Now, the only good tax is the one you don't pay. That's the only good tax. The next best tax is the one you pay, but you get something for it. And I believe that these 4 levies are things that this community, including you, have been asking for and demanding for some time now, and the benefit of those things will be to the people and to the city of Cleveland in this region. The worst tax is when you pay and you get nothing for it. That's not this situation.
Mayor, so I want to talk about integration, how
Yes.
segregation has economically killed the city. How
Segregation,
segregation, race and
racial,
class.
yeah.
So there's a recent study out there that said Cleveland Metro is 45th out of 50 in the chance to move from the bottom 20th percent to the top 20th percent.
Right.
With Atlanta and other southern cities.
You're not in 40 out of 50?
45th out of
And
50.
to move where? I'm trying to
To
understand.
move from the bottom 20th percentile of an economic class up to the top 20th percentile.
Economic class?
Yeah.
You mean as a measure of wealth in it?
Yeah.
Okay.
So if a kid in Cleveland, there's a 5% chance that a kid in Cleveland will go from the bottom 20 to the top 20 percentile. So, and what they showed was that largest concentrations of poor people in a concentrated area is one of the biggest indicators of that. So it's a very exciting time though in Cleveland, because what you have is different migration patterns going on, and what you have is suburban white people moving into the same neighborhood as people from the east side moving to the west side.
Right.
So it's an organic integration. It doesn't mean that it's diversity. Or, I mean, it's organic diversity, it doesn't mean it's integrated. So how do we get these kind of gentrifying areas and get this kind of investment? So it's not just filling condos and microbreweries, but taking this chance to truly build an integrated neighborhood, and to make sure it sticks, to make sure that neighborhoods are factories of human capital in a good way, and not just kind of divisive.
And you invest in people. That's how you do it. You invest in people. And that investment, and you translate investment in capital into investment in people. So you have bricks and mortars, you have people. And so you have to make sure that either it's a direct investment in people, so that people have options, people have the ability to make right choices, that the people are able to fulfill dreams and aspirations. And then if you're investing in bricks and mortar, you make that to the benefit of the people. So the people have to be the purpose for what you do. And then all those other things come. Now, when you talk about integration, you have several. You have the racial integration, you have economic integration, and then you have the social integration, which is more of a cultural kind of thing. You will find that probably the best cosmopolitan, social, economic, racial integration probably occurs on the near west side. You know, there's certain pockets over there, and it tends to work. Now the question becomes, and where we have to be careful, is that gentrification occurs just as organically as you're saying integration occurs. The same will happen with gentrification if you don't put safeguards in place. Example, I live in Central, 38th and Central. My family's been there since 1960, so I've seen it at its best, its worst, rebuilding and all that. And when you have development, community and economic development in a depressed neighborhood or economically deprived neighborhood, it organically will gentrify. Give you an example. If this the house I live in, I think I paid $9,000 for the thing back when. So you can imagine with my property tax was pretty much nothing. Now I probably pay over $2,000 or $1,500 in property tax. So if I'm on an elderly person on fixed income or poor, I would be forced out of that neighborhood because I couldn't afford to live there. You see, so I'm trying to, give you the fact that I understand what you're talking to. So what we do as government is that you ensure that an unintended consequence doesn't happen.
Right.
It's because what you don't want to do is through policy and laws promote something or have something happen that was not intended to happen.
Right.
So I handled that situation in Central, and it will be a challenge in certain neighborhoods as they begin to go through the next cycle of development. And so you have to put in place those things that will sustain the neighborhood, maintain the culture, maintain people, and maintain lifestyle, and that's all around quality of life.
And are you creating mandates in, say, Office of Community Development or certain departments to kind of check this investment so the unintended consequences don't occur?
Well, there are some things you can do and some things you can't. I can't have when the auditor or whoever it is to go out and do property values every 6 years, I can't tell them don't raise this property value when in fact it naturally goes up. So I can't do that. But I can ensure that that person, that elderly person on a fixed income or the person with a low income job, that we can provide some assistance to help bring their property up to code so that they don't have the contrast. What we did in Central was, as they were building new homes, I would have our community development part, I was a councilman there, go in, talk to the owner of this older structure. If they were eligible for whatever they were eligible for, we put them into that program and worked them through that program. So their property looked no different than the other property in terms of being up to code. It had fresh paint on it. If it needed a roof was repaired. And so some of them were, it was a grant. Some of them were, they had to pay back some loans and things. But you have to work in conjunction with the people who are there.
We have about 5 minutes left, so I don't know if there's anything else that we haven't covered yet, or if we have other questions.
I'd like to ask a question about immigration, because I know this is an issue that you've evolved on,
Right.
that initially there was a lot of resistance, particularly in the black community, then you've become very supportive. And actually, last night I heard this again from a young woman I know in the African American community in East Cleveland, who had Armand Buttigieg's pamphlet. He said, look, he's promoting immigration to come take our jobs. And what have you seen, how have you seen the benefits in this that have caused you to
Well,
sort of...
let me point out, see, people think I've evolved. I'm pretty much the same. You know, and I'm where I am. I have no problem with immigration. If I don't know anybody in here who's not an immigrant
How do
somewhere.
you see its advantage to the city?
Well, I see it, there's certain ways is advantage. The advantage is when you have, Albert Ratner says it best, you can do it the natural way or you can do it immigration. And the natural way just takes longer. You just can't have that many babies at that period of time. So if you want to attract people to your city through immigration and migration, then what they will bring with them in terms of many people who have choices, they will bring the wealth, if they're business-minded, if they're professional. Cleveland Clinic does a great job of bringing people into the clinic from other parts of the country and other parts of the world. So there is a great advantage to the city of Cleveland because you're growing a population, you're creating an environment and filling positions that could not be filled but for this. The problem I have is not with somebody taking somebody's job. It's a misrepresentation. The problem I have is that they don't have the same enthusiasm for a refugee. You know, yeah, this person over here is a professional, they're a business person, they can pay $500,000 for a visa or $250,000 for a visa. And yes, they're a great benefit, I have no problem with that. But do we have the same enthusiasm and the same interest for a refugee who may be living in an environment in their country that is politically and socially untenable for them anymore, that if their life is in danger, they're trying to get away from something of abject poverty or trying to create a better opportunity for their children? And so that's my concern. Do we have the same kind of policy of immigration that will bring everyone and treat everyone the same? That's what I'm concerned about. And I don't necessarily know that when people talk about immigration, if they're talking about the refugee, or they're talking about the person who can buy the visa, or the person who's a businessman, or a professional. They have choices in life. They can be in America, they can be in Cleveland, they can be in New York, they can be anywhere in the world. They have choices. But there are other people who do not have a choice. And I know I'm going over, but I want to just mention this one thing. I go to different ethnic groups and different cultures have events, and I go to almost all of them unless I just can't make it. And I go to the Liberian one, you know, and I go to the Nigerian one. And so I went to the Liberian one, and they happened to have it in the rotunda at City Hall. And the Liberians were the ones who were putting it on were you know, people of means, and they were professionals, and or they had well-paying jobs and things like that. And then there was this group that was with them, and this group, you could tell that they were tired. Not just adults, but children. They were tired, they were lethargic. And so I'm wondering what's going on here. What I found out from the librarians is that this group came from that part of where they were doing the blood diamonds, Sierra Leone and places like that, and people were very oppressed and stuff. And I realized at that point how just surviving from day to day had taken out of them so much. Just so much. So are we welcoming them too? And so I believe immigration is good for the city of Cleveland. I believe it is, but in terms of population, in terms of investment, capital investment, and business investment, in terms of professional skills to fill the thousands of jobs that are being unfilled because there's nobody here to fill them, I believe it's great. But I do believe that there are people out there that we should be concerned about who may not be able to look out for themselves.
Well, thank you so much, Mayor. We're right on schedule. Thank you so much for being here and taking time out of your busy day. Thank you to your campaign staff. Thank you for doing this all day, guys. Thank you so much, Mayor. Appreciate it.
Thank you.